We were fortunate. We were able to take a $62 million business and in 4 years take that to about 130, doubling both top line and bottom line.
So you stay in the business. What role do you take on now that you've been acquired by a PE fund?
We were very selective, and that's the thing. With selecting your partners. And that was probably some of the best advice that I got. We need to make sure that, one, I wanted partners that didn't have operators. I didn't really want them in our business. I wanted to still run it. So I was still president and CEO. And then I was able to keep my entire team.
So fast forward, what comes next?
We're in the midst of COVID. So it's April. I want to say June. I come to the board. I've got an acquisition opportunity. I've been staying close with my number two competitor, and they called and they're like, let's talk, because they knew we had money behind us. We threatened that we're going to add a facility down south, and they're like, we're not going to do this anymore. And they were located in Asheville, North Carolina. They went with it, and we dug in. We ended up buying that on February 1st of the following year, and then we continued to grow it. And our strategy kind of changed. So we owned the number one and two positions on the edge market. At that time we were probably around 80 million. We really strategized of how are we going to get into the building envelope. We knew we had to expand off the roof edge and onto the building walls. So what we did is, at first, I ended up hiring a company to go out there and try to find opportunities. Nothing really came about that. But through a relationship we had through our national accounts, we were using a vendor. We ended up working with a company called Citadel Architectural Products, and they were on the wall side of the business doing ACM products, so aluminum composite metal panels. We ended up talking, and they had three owners, all over 62 years of age, and no succession plan. And I'm like, perfect. So September of 23, we ended up buying that. So we were fortunate. We were able to take a $62 million business and be able to, in 4 years, almost to the day, take that to about 130, doubling both top line and bottom line. And we did it through a combination of organic growth and acquisitions.
That's incredible. I know that you went to sale again. How much integration did you have to do before you sold?
It was a lot on the financial side, a lot of Power BI. Like, we didn't do anything with ERPs. We were running a company with 3 different ERPs, and we tried to run them separately. So to give you another example of where our growth came in, Metal Era was a flagship and we had 33 independent reps. Well, when we bought Hickman, they didn't have independent reps, or they had very little. So we ended up putting in another 33 independent reps. We went in further with their brand. So we were able to create some nice competition, even though it was kind of internal, but out in the field. And we really kind of elevated our sales efforts. And then Citadel brought the ability. They had so much opportunity that was left on the table that we just had to give them a spark, bring in some new people. But we didn't do a ton of integration. We didn't have a ton of time, to be honest with you, because at the end of 2023, the board decided that we're going to go to market and go through another process. And we ended up selling the company on May 1st. So there wasn't a ton of time.
I assume you got a good return on investment for the fund?
Absolutely. I think they ended up paying roughly about 180 million. Originally, I think we sold it for 410 million.
Wow.
So there was a substantial return on that investment.
Incredible. Like, what an awesome story.